Good morning, everyone. Today we will be starting with the next topic, the Wigner-Wheeler distribution. In our last class, we have been discussing about the difference joint time frequency techniques. We have seen this say STFT, okay, and we have discussed about the different concerns which is needed over there, and we have discussed that short time Fourier transform. This Fourier transform they are regarded as the spectrogram, and if you have two parameters, two frequency components like this, or time domain components like this, and if you want to do the frequency analysis, suppose we are having x1 and xt, okay, then in the spectrogram you will be not only having the spectrogram due to x1 and the spectrogram due to x2, there will be again some cross term of the spectrogram s of x1 x2, okay, and that is what we have seen in these cases over here, these lines. So we talked about that there are two sharp signals where uh, the frequency components are increasing with time. However, due to the spectrogram, these cross terms which are present, if you do not take proper precautions, then this cross term will be appearing. Okay. Then we have seen how this STFT spectrogram can be applied to the biomedical signals and how it can be used in denoising. Okay, and then we have seen how the spectrogram STFT based denoising it works by thresholding purpose. Okay. Here also we have seen how ECG signal with 60 Hz noise it can be denoised by the STFT's spectrogram analysis method, and then we have also discussed about this denoised signal, and we can see there would be some distortions in the ECG signals from the regular one, because if you want to remove the 60 Hz noise signals, the 60 Hz component from the ECG signal would also be removed, right? Then we have looked into how uniform white noise can affect the how TFTX to spectrogram they can be used for the denoising purpose. Now the next topic is the Wigner-Wheeler distribution. In the Wigner-Wheeler distribution, if you see this equation, if you remove this one of the part over here, there are two x parts, and if you see, if you remove one of this x component, that means the signal component part, then it looks something like the Fourier transform. Okay. However, if you consider this signal component terms, what is happening? We are having two terms, x of t plus t by tau multiplied by x star t minus t by tau. What is the physical significance of this one? The physical significance of this one is that suppose you are having a signal and you are having a point tau where tau is a dummy time variable. Okay. Now, what this says is that you are taking a particular time period, okay, on the left and on the right, and then you are performing correlation. Okay, then you are performing the correlation, and once you get the correlation factor, then you go for the Fourier transform of that equation. Okay, and the next equation, it is basically the frequency domain representation of the first equation. Okay, so over here, if you see in the Wigner-Wheeler distribution, we are interested in the correlation function at a particular instance tau. Okay, so using this we are getting the joint time frequency, this thing. So it basically, this tau, it basically provides you the information about the instantaneous time, instantaneous time, and corresponding to the frequency over there, it would, in the next equation, it would give you the information about the instantaneous frequency. Okay. And in this way, this Wigner-Wheeler distribution, it helps us in understanding or in implementing in the analysis of the signals in the joint time frequency domain. Okay. Now, in both the cases, if you see, just like in our previous case, when we were looking into the spectrograms of the signal X and Y, and then when we are looking into the spectrogram of X plus Y, we had the spectrogram of X plus spectrogram of Y plus some correlation factor or the cross term factor of XY. Okay. Similarly, over here, if you see the Wigner-Wheeler distribution over here, what is happening? You are having the Wigner-Wheeler distribution. If you are having two signals, say X and Y, and if they have been combined to make a single signal, then you will be getting the Wigner-Wheeler distribution of X. You will be getting a Wigner-Wheeler distribution of Y, and then there would be a cross term. Which would be due to the interaction of the Wigner-Wheeler distribution of X and Y. Okay, so in this way you get the thing. Now, one of the disadvantages of this Wigner-Wheeler distribution over here, if you see, it is looking into the correlation of the signal across this time tau. Now it is taking the signals, whole of the signal on the left hand side and whole of the signals on the right hand side. Okay, so there is some fallacy. Fallacy means in one instance you are telling that we are interested in an instantaneous time. That means at a particular time what is happening, you are interested in that. On the other hand, you are taking the correlation factor in the negative half and the positive half of the across the tau, across, if you consider the new origin as the tau, across that new origin, if you are trying to get that, you're basically taking the whole of the signal components, right, in the negative half of the tau and on the right hand side of the tau. Negative half means the left hand side of the tau and on the right hand side of the tau. So it becomes a global system. Okay. But we are interested in the instantaneous time. So there is a contradiction over here. Now, due to this contradiction, we will see there are some disadvantages over here. Okay. So what are the disadvantages? So let's first take two blocks of signals. Okay. And they are there, and it is basically the same signal over here what we discussed, these atoms. If you see these atoms, if you are having two atoms of the signals 1 and 2 and you are having similar kind of stuff, so you use that similar kind of stuff over here and then you try to find out the Wigner-Wheeler distribution. See, you get information about the two atoms. Suppose this is the Wigner-Wheeler distribution of X and this is the distribution of Wigner-Wheeler Y, and the middle part, it is basically the cross term. Okay. Now, when these two atoms, they are getting separated in time, then this cross term, it is not interfering with the Wigner-Wheeler distribution of X and Y. They are not conjoined. So you have to remember in keep in mind that when you get this kind of atoms which are very nearly placed in time, in those cases, the cross terms will be interfering with the what do you call with the analysis of your composite signal. Okay. Similarly, in the third case, if you see, when we are increasing the distance between the two atoms, so what is happening? If you see the length of the cross terms in this direction, it is reducing. Over here, if you see, it was quite large. In the first case, it was the largest. Again, when you move these atoms again far apart, you see the dimension of this one decreases. However, if you see carefully, the number of these panes or what do you call or these cross terms, they are increasing. Their height is decreasing, but the number is increasing. Okay. However, as the atoms are quite far apart, you can see these cross terms, they are not at all interfering with the analysis of the thing. So one, you are using basically this Wigner-Villay distribution for the joint time frequency analysis of any given signal. You have to be careful and you have to keep in mind that there would be some cross term effects which will be hampering, which might hamper your analysis. Okay. But if you see the nature of these cross terms, they are quite regular. They will be coming as a parallel stuff. Okay. And as we go far apart, the amplitude of these cross terms, they will be decreasing. Okay. Now, the problem happens in the case of this when we use 4 Gaussian atoms. Okay. So over here, if you see, when you increase these atoms, Gaussian atoms, so what is happening? You get several cross terms. So in the first case, if you see, get this first cross term due to the interaction of let's mark these atoms, say A, B, C and D. So this first cross term, it is due to the, say, A and B, say R, A, B. Okay. This second cross term, it is said due to R, B, C. The third cross term, it is due to the CD or DC, whatever. And the fourth cross term, it is due to the AD. Now, in between all of this, you will find there is another cross term, and this cross term is due to all the components A, B, C, D. Okay. So you can see when we are having when we are increasing basically the number of the Gaussian atoms, or in other way you can say when we are increasing the number of the atoms which are having different frequency components, over there, depending upon the number of the atoms with different frequency distribution, our cross terms will be increasing. And this was one of the major problem, because suppose if you are a novice in joint time frequency analysis, it would become difficult for you guys to analyze the signal properly, because there are so many cross terms which are coming. In the previous case, since there were only 2 Gaussian atoms, the cross term was limited to 1. But when we increase it to this thing, then we are having we can see the cross terms are increasing manifold. Okay. due to this problem, the pseudo-Wigner-Wille distribution has been proposed. Now, what it says basically, if you see the equation of the Wigner-Wille distribution and the pseudo-Wigner-Wille distribution, both are same. However, in the pseudo-Wigner-Wille distribution, there is an h tau function. Okay. Now, keep this in mind. Let us go to the STF. If you see in this STFT equation, a similar function was here. What is this similar function? This similar function, this h component is nothing but a window. So what type of window? It is a time domain window. Okay. The same thing it is being done in the Wigner-Wille distribution. So we include a time domain window. So what we are doing, we are now taking the correlation of the function within a specific time interval across this tau. Okay, across this tau, if you remember clearly, here we were talking about, we are taking all of the signal in the left hand side and all of the signal in the right hand side. Okay, and then we were doing the correlation. However, in this distribution, what we are doing, we are including a window function, and due to the inclusion of the window function across this tau, we are limiting the time domain. Okay. Right. So we are using just a particular window over here to do the correlation. So we are basically taking taking the correlation within a very short duration and across the tau, dummy variable tau. Okay. Now the next one is just the frequency domain equation of the first one. Now in this case, when we did this, now if you see in the case of the 4 Gaussian atoms, what is happening? We were having same A, B, C and D. Initially we were having R of AB, R of BC, R of CD, R of AD and R of ABCD in the Wigner-Wille distribution. Now when we applied this window, what is happening? Due to the application of this window, this R of BC, R of ABCD and R of AD, they have gone. Now why this is so? This is because the window what we have placed it has done, it is acting as an averager in the time domain. Since we have applied the window in the time domain, it is acting as an it is just averaging the stuff out. Now when it is doing so, it is removing these components, these cross term components in the time domain. However, due to this averaging effect over here, it is suppressing, it is increasing the length of the cross terms in the frequency axis. Okay, in the frequency axis. So the main advantage over here is that you are able to get or reduce a large number of cross terms, and you are left with only two cross terms to deal with while you are doing the analysis with the pseudo-Wigner-Wiener analysis. And this is one of the advantage of the pseudo-Wigner-Wiener distribution. Okay. Now, initially we talked about these analytic signals. In whatever the signal analysis we have talked about over here, if you see, in all these cases we have used analytic signal for time frequency analysis. Now, what happens if you do not use the analytic signal? See, when analytic signal is not considered. If you see over here, when analytic signals are not considered, if you see the cross terms, they have increased multitude. Okay, and apart from this, if you see the main signal components, they are also wonky. Okay, they are wonky means they are also noisy. They are also filled with noise. Okay. Now, due to this reason, you should keep in mind while you will be going for joint time frequency analysis, it is advisable that you analyze, you use the analytic signal for the analysis. Okay. Now let's get to the next topic, wavelet transform. In the wavelet transform, we basically consider that the signals are non-stationary signals. Okay. And in our last class, we have discussed about what are stationary signals and what are non-stationary signals. Okay. Now, the signals that stay at a constant frequency over the period of time, they are called stationary signals, and the signals that can change over time are called non-stationary signals. Okay. Now, what is a wavelet? Wavelet is a waveform of limited duration that has an average value of 0. Okay. Now, what is the wavelet analysis and how it is different from the normal Fourier? In our last class, we have discussed in the Fourier transform, what we do is that we use a sinusoidal wave and then we stretch the sinusoid and do correlation with the original signal, and when we get a peak, we tell that at this particular frequency we are having the frequency component within the signal, right? In wavelet, we also do the same thing. However, herein we use a wavelet and we do not use a sinusoidal wave. Okay. Now, when you use a wavelet, it is not a sinusoid. Now, the frequency component, what you will be having over here, that frequency component is regarded as pseudo frequency. Okay. Frequency is usually associated with a sinusoidal signal, right? And hence, when we use the sinusoids and we try to find out the frequency components in the Fourier, using the Fourier transform, we say that we have a particular frequency. However, in wavelet, we are using wavelets which are waves, but they are limited in time and they have an average amplitude of 0. Okay, so when we use this wavelet, they cannot have particular frequency. So over here, what we have, we have pseudo frequency. Okay, and this stretching of the sinusoids, what we have discussed, is also true in the wavelet analysis also. Okay, so the stretching, it is either called, it is also called as scaling. Okay, so either we call it stretching or we call it scaling. Okay, so what we do in Fourier transform, we have a signal component, we have a signal. Yeah, maybe in the next slide we have. No, it is for the web transform. So just for a recap, in the in the Fourier transform, what we do, suppose we have a signal, then we take a sinusoidal signal, we do correlation with the original signal xt, okay, and we note down the correlation value. Then we stretch this signal and we do the correlation with xt with the stretch signal, and in this way we do it. Okay, now if the signal components, suppose they are having 40, 20, 60, 100, this is the frequency component. Suppose the signal is having a frequency component of 40 hertz, then at 40 the correlation value would be very high, and at other frequencies you will be having 0 terms. The same thing happens over here in the wavelet also. In the wavelet, what happens is that we use this wavelet transform. We use these wavelets to do this. Okay. So what happens? We have the signal, we get the wavelet transform, so we get the mother wavelet. So for a particular signal, so it is a signal over here. Say I have a, so if you see the wavelets are time limited. So we analyze the signal over here, do the correlation, and then we shift the window to the next instance. So says it is 0 to 1, then 1 to 2 we will be moving the window, then we will be moving it to 2 to 3, and so on. Okay, so in this way we start moving this mother wavelets and we get the stuff. Now once it is done with a particular mother wavelet, then we do the stretching of the mother wavelet and again perform this operation. That means stretching, performing correlation, and then again shifting. Okay, and once the analysis is done, and then you again repeat it. Okay. Now, due to this reason, if you consider the Fourier transform domain, we call it spectrogram. Okay, we call it spectrogram, and because over there we are dealing with the frequency terms. Because we are using sinusoids, right? Now, in this case, what we are doing, we are using wavelets and we are scaling them and trying to analyze them. So they are called scaleogram. Wavelet, this wavelet transform these figures, it is regarded as scaleogram. Okay, because these are associated with pseudo frequencies. Okay, and we are dealing with the scaling of the pseudo frequency terms. Now, if you see properly, these wavelets, they are performing two functions. The first function is that it is acting as a window, and the second thing is it itself is acting as a analysis function. Now when stretching it, you are basically varying the window. Varying the window size, sorry. Okay, we are varying the window size. So in our last class we have discussed in STFT we are having a rectangular window, but in that rectangular window that is fixed. However, over here what we are doing for the stretched signal, we are analyzing low frequency component, but then due to the architecture, the window has been increased, and for the high frequency analysis the window is shorted. Okay, so depending upon the frequency component within the signal in the wavelet, the window size either increases or decreases. Okay, so in a typical wavelet display you will be having time in the x-axis and scale, which is basically the frequency inverse of the frequency, it will be in the y-axis, and the magnitude it will be denoted by the brightness. Okay, now if you see, the lower is the high frequency. In the high frequency you are having low size window. As you are going towards the lower frequency, the window size it is increasing. Okay, and as you go further, the window size it is increasing further. Are you getting my point? So due to this reason, the wavelet transforms, they are advanced form of the joint time frequency analysis, wherein there is an automatic resizing of the window function while you are doing the frequency analysis. Whatever I have told, it has been how the function is being, how we do the this wavelet transform. It is given over here, and this is regarded as continuous type wavelet. Okay, so we have a pulse signal which is having 20 hertz signal, and then we have a Dobische wavelet of 40 hertz. Okay, Dobische 20 dB 20 wavelet, and then you have this wavelet, you do the correlation, then shift it, okay, and then do it, do the thing, and lastly the stretching also. So once you complete one complete signal analysis of the original signal, then you go for the stretching and do the correlation again. Okay, and this correlation factors, they are given by this brightness. Okay, denote the y domain or the y plane. As I told you, wavelet transform representation, it is regarded as the scaleogram. Okay, because we are doing the scaling of the frequency, or more precisely the pseudo frequency of the wavelet. The term dilation is also used to describe either stretching or shrinking of the wavelet, either scaling, or you can also use stretching or shrinking for the dilation for stretching or shrinking. These are some of the common wavelet functions. Now basically what wavelet function does. So you have a signal over here. We apply a low pass filter and a high pass filter. Okay, so you get two components. The low pass filter, suppose you are having a frequency component 0 to 100. Okay, so you break it down, 0 to 100 hertz frequency component, or 0 to 100 hertz. So you apply a low pass filter and a high pass filter. So herein you will be having low pass component of 0 to 50 hertz, and then on the higher side, in the high pass, you will be having 50 to 100 hertz. Okay, the bandwidth of both the low pass filter and the high pass filter would be the same. Okay, that's why you are getting the frequency component at 0 to 50 hertz and this next one 50 to 100 hertz. So if you look into the bandwidth is 50 in both the cases. Okay, the lower frequency components, they are called approximate coefficients. And the higher frequency components, they are called the detailed coefficients. Okay, and this type of what do you call decomposition or the breaking of the signal on the basis of the frequency components, it is regarded as decomposition. Okay, signal decomposition. Okay, then this is a decomposition filter over here. Then on the right hand side we have a low pass filter again of the same frequency characteristics and a high frequency this time. So H and H dash, they are having similar frequency what you call frequency characteristics. Okay, but these filters on the right hand side of this bar, they are called reconstruction filter. Okay, so H and L, they are decomposition filter, and H dash and L dash, they are called reconstruction filter. So it is like written over here. This is, these two are reconstruction filter. However, the combination of H and H dash, it is called high pass half band filter, and the combination of L and L dash, it is called low pass half band filter. Okay, now over here when you again join this approximate coefficient and the detailed coefficient, so we are having 0 to 50 hertz components and 50 to 100 hertz components, and when you again join the frequency components, it gets 0 to 100 hertz components and you get the signal. Okay, now there are two types of so this type of decomposition, it is called discrete wavelet transform. Okay, and over here the length of the signal at A1 and D1, it does not changes, and hence it is called undecimated discrete wavelet transform. Okay, on the other hand, there is a decimated discrete wavelet transform wherein the signal length decreases. Suppose the signal length of the signal is 1000 over here. Okay, so what will happen is that after you decompose this signal with L and H, there would be a decimation function. Okay, so because of this, the approximate coefficient over here, it would be 500 signal length, and the detailed coefficient would also be 500 signal length. In the previous case, in the undecimated one, where there was no decimator, the approximate coefficient would be of same length. Both the approximate and the detailed coefficients would be of same length. However, in decimated discrete wavelet transform, you will be having that there will be a reduction in the vertical signal length over here, and it is integrated with the decomposition filter. This decimeter, it is integrated with the decomposition filter. Okay. So this I have already told you. Now this is just what I told you. So low pass filter component, it is regarded as approximate coefficient, and the higher frequency component, they are called treated coefficients. Now this A1, if you see this A1, if I apply another set of low pass and high pass filter, then we will be getting another set of approximate and detailed coefficients. Okay. So say for example, if I start with the signal S, in the level 1 decomposition, I will be having high pass filter, I will be having low pass filter. So these we have already named. So I will just erase this and I will just name them. Say A1, D1. So this means A1 means first level of decomposition. So in the next level, what I will do? Again, I will apply a set of high pass and low pass filter. I will be getting A2, D2. Then again, I will be applying another set of A, A3, D3. So this is level 1 decomposition. Up to this, it is level 2 decomposition, and up to 3, it is level 3 decomposition. And you can go on over the whatever, up to whatever level you want to decompose. Okay. Now, in undecimated discrete wavelet transform, there will be no change in the signal length, even if you go for the n number of decomposition. However, in the decimated discrete wavelet transform, suppose in the first case, where the signal length is 1000, in the first case we will be having 500 signal length. In the level 1, the signal length of both approximate and detailed coefficients would be 500. In level 2, it would become 250. In level 3, it would become 125. Okay, and so on. This I am talking about in the decimated discrete wavelet transform. Okay, so as in the decimated discrete wavelet transform, as you go on increasing the decomposition level, your signal length decreases, whereas in the undecimated one, the signal length does not decrease. Okay. Then again, if you see, you can join up all these stuffs and you can get back your original signal. Okay. So I will show you the thing. So you are joining up all this signal. These are all filter these things. So suppose if you are having 100 hertz signal components. So this is 0 to 50. This is 50 to 100. Then here 0 to 25. Here will be 25 to 50. Then herein you will be having 0 to 12.5. Herein you will be having 12.5 to 25. We have fractioned the frequency components. Now, when you are trying to rejoin it, you see, you are rejoining A3 and all this thing. So see, 0 to 12.5, 12.5 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100. So what if you have the S dash, so you will be having all the frequency component in the range of 0 to 100. Now suppose if you want to apply some filtering techniques, the denoising technique in the wavelet transform, what you do, suppose your noise is in the level of D3, 12.5 to 25. During the reconstruction, you do not use this. So you will be having 0 to 100 frequency component. However, over here, 12.5 to 25 hertz components, they will be mixed. And when we do the reconstruction, we directly don't do the reconstruction. Just for the sake of understanding, I told you, but you will have to apply these reconstruction filters. Okay. If you look in the previous case over here, if you see, we are just decomposing our approximate coefficients. Now, due to this, the frequency resolution over of the detailed coefficients, they are not improved. So in that case, another type of transform, it has been developed, wherein along with this what you call this approximate coefficient, the detailed coefficients are also being decomposed. Okay, so in that case, we say it as it looks something like this. So this is your root signal, then you decompose it as, say, approximate, and this is the detailed. So this is called A0. Oh, sorry. Yeah. A0 D1. Then again you block it, so it is A00, A01, then D10, D11. Okay. Then we have sorry. D1. So this is will be A00, this will be D01, this would be A10, this would be D11. Then over here A000, D001, then A010, and then you will be having D011, and in the same way you will be having A100 and D101, A110, and you will be having D111. So in this way, it will go on. It will go on, and you will be having the decomposition of your signal. So everywhere, if you see, if it is 0 to 100, so here what we got, 0 to 50, 50 to 100. Let me use the black pen. So 0 to 25. So you will be having 25 to 50. Again, here you will be having 50 to 75, 75 to 100. Again, this will be broken down 0 to 12.5, 12.5 to 25, and in the likewise manner. So you will be having. So if you see, for each and every cases, you are having a smaller frequency component. That means you are increasing the frequency resolution while you are decomposing the signal, and the higher the level of decomposition you do, you will be getting a very narrow band of the decomposition, wherein you will be able to eliminate the frequency components with very precise location. Okay. So with this, I complete the chapter of this thing. So this is an example of the scaleogram. Then wavelet based ECG denoising is there. See, so I have eliminated this D1, D2, D3. Okay, so here there was a 50 hertz noise, 60 hertz noise component, and I have used the lower components A1, then this D4, D5, D6, and all this other components. I've eliminated D3, D2, and D1, and I have got this red line. Whatever we have got, that is the denoised ECG signal. And if you compare it with the STFT, if you see the parameters over here, all the P waves, they have been retained, unlike in the STFT based threshold based denoising. Okay. So again, 60 hertz ECG with 60 hertz noise, if you see, and again when we denoised with wavelet, you see there is the P wave is being retained. Then again, this is for the P with sorry. Okay. Okay, this is of the same thing, but we're using a different wavelet, I suppose. And then we have ECG with uniform white noise. Over here, if you see, while removing the white noise, the wavelet may not function in the way what we expect. Okay. Then this is how to do the thresholding in the lab view software. And with this, I conclude this chapter. If you have any questions, we can discuss. Otherwise, we will stop over here.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the undecimated discretion, as the level keeps on increasing, the signal length decreases, right, sir?
Yeah.
What happens in the decimated, sir? There's no change in the level, right? So how does it
No,
go?
no. In undecimated, the signal length remains same.
We see a split up with every level, right?
What do you mean by decimation? What do you mean by the word decimate? Decimate means you are dividing it.
Division.
Decimation means you are dividing it. Undecimate means you are not dividing. So in the undecimated discrete wavelet transform, the signal length remains same. Okay. However, in decimated means you are decimating it by a factor of 2. Suppose you are having 1000 length, 1000 point signal, then it will be decimated to 500 points in A1 and 500 points in D1.
D1.
Again, when you are applying this decimated discrete wavelet transform, you will be having 250 points in both the cases, A2 and D2. Again, if you apply this thing, decimated discrete wavelet transform, the length will decrease to 125 in both A3 and D3. Again, if you go for this thing, then it will be divided by 2. However, in undecimated discrete wavelet transform, in all the cases, this D1 it will be having 1000 points. A1 it will be having 1000 points. D2 it will be having 1000 points. A2 you will be having 1000 points. Okay. It is just like if you have this, if you have a say 100-point filter, okay, and it contains frequency components say 0 to 100 hertz. Now you apply a band pass filter over here having a frequency component of say 60 to 80 hertz. Herein you are having 100 points or 1000 points. So after applying this band pass filter, what should be the length of your filter over here? Length of your signal?
1000 only.
It will be 1000. Okay. So undecimated discrete wavelet transforms, it is just applying the band high pass and low pass filters. It is just applying high pass and low pass filters. Only your frequency component is changing. Initially it was 0 to 100. In this case, it will be you will be having 60 to 80 hertz. Right? Are you getting my point?
Yeah, the sample size remains the same, but the frequency.
In the discrete wavelet transform, you are applying a set of low pass and high pass filter. So there is no reason that the signal length would be decreasing. Okay.
Okay, sir. Got it.
But if it is a decimated one, then you have to, a decimator is built within the low pass and the high pass filter, and then you have to reduce the signal length. Okay.